Good evening, Vancouver. Welcome back to Canucks After Dark. May 1st, we are in May. We are through the first round of the playoffs. We've had some big upsets. And as always, joined by my co-host, Canuck Clay. How are you doing today, Clay? And how was your week of exciting playoff hockey?
Parker, I miss you, man. I miss you. We didn't do a show last week. I hope I know we still message each other. I think we're both doing okay. It's been a busy week, both from a church perspective. I just before we got on here, I finished writing my final for my 9th master course. I have 9 down, 3 to go. And aside from that, watching some crazy hockey, some really, really exciting hockey. And I know we're going to get into this. I'm pretty sure I almost went 0 for or 1 for 7 on 1 and 7 in our playoff predictions.
You definitely weren't 1 for 7. I think,
but it wasn't much better.
I think you had a clean 50-50.
Well, I know that's not good, but yeah.
So we'll take some time. There's not really any Canucks news over the past 2 weeks, I don't think, really at all. Other than like Elias Pettersson was going to go to the Worlds and then he didn't go to the Worlds.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
My moniker, Parker, of Daily Canucks content is not really Daily Canucks content.
It's a tough time to be doing that. May, playoffs, tough time to be a Canucks fan. Yeah, we do have, obviously we have 8 series that wrapped up that we can chat about, and do our previews for round 2. We did obviously predictions for the first round. One of our predictions went better than the other. Do we score it last year 3 for getting the winner right and an extra point for getting the number of games? Is that how we did it?
Well, I'm not going to be biased because I know I'm losing, so I'm not going to say it was 2 and 1. I actually don't know. I
think it was 3 and 1. Because that's what came to my mind. And that's how I've already done the scoring. So
good.
We can get to that.
I'm going to have to make a Florida Panthers type comeback, I think.
Yeah, you might. Where do we want to lead off tonight? Do we want to just dive into playoffs? Was there any Canucks topics? Anything else you wanted to?
I'm looking one thing up while, and we can go backwards. Well, it's weird how the NHL hasn't actually announced their entire schedule for round 2. They said it's going to come out tomorrow. So they announced the first 2 games of each of the 4 series, and then they stalled. They weren't even ready for it tonight. So I don't know, Parker, if that's normal, if they're checking building availability now, because I don't know.
That's what I was thinking. But are any basketball teams
like double
still
whammies?
in it? I don't think so. Right? Like definitely.
Maybe there's like a Taylor Swift concert or something.
Maybe, yeah. But like New Jersey, Carolina, I don't think Charlotte's in it. Edmonton doesn't have a team. Vegas doesn't have a team.
Yeah.
Toronto's out. Florida, no, they don't play there.
No.
Seattle doesn't have a team. Dallas, they're out. They were tanking. Yeah, they got fined for tanking. They're done. That shouldn't be any. There shouldn't really be any building conflicts except for maybe concerts or something.
Right. And to answer your question, Canucks news, Parker, I've done 3 Canucks videos in the past 2 weeks since our last show. One was about Elias Pettersson, the defenseman, signing, and Jason King not returning. So that was not major news, but it was news. Then Granato and Castonguay rumored to be interviewed for the Florida job, the vacant Florida job. And then you're right, PD not playing in the World Championships. That's it.
Yeah, hasn't been too much. All right, well, maybe we should just do some reviewing.
Yeah. That sounds good.
And there's going to be some that we can probably knock out pretty quick, like Vegas, Winnipeg. Vegas was just better.
Yes. Actually, Parker, just before we start, sorry, just inquiring minds. Thank you. I know you guys have missed us. People are asking 2 questions. Why did we start late tonight? Yeah, I was writing a final and Parker was playing softball. So we both said that 11 was actually better than 10 tonight. And the second question, are we going any later because we're starting later or because I'm not doing a show? No, because I just finished writing a final because Parker got back from softball. We're going to commit to a solid 35 to 40 minutes for you. Okay. Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
We're going to do a tight 35, 40. It's too late. I get sleepy. I don't do the late nights as well as you do.
Yeah, I'm old man. Yeah. Okay. But we promise to give you some goodness. Might not get to a lot of Q&A depending on how well, because we got to wrap up 8 series and then predict another 4, and then Parker can make fun of me how bad I'm doing in the pool. So sorry, you said Vegas and Winnipeg. Go for it.
Yeah, Vegas was just better than Winnipeg, and I will say I did predict Vegas in 5, which happened to be exactly correct.
I got Vegas in 7, right? I was Vegas in 7.
You did have Vegas in 7, so you get 1 point less, but that's fine. Yeah. You still got the winner right. Winnipeg just didn't look good. There's all the drama now about, what's his name? Rick Bowness basically just going after the guys, and Blake Wheeler being like, I wish you kept that internal. And everyone's like, well, he probably did for a while and you guys didn't do anything about it. Winnipeg just looked like a mess. Vegas was the Vegas that they have been. And they look a little bit scary.
Yep. And I know Josh Morrissey got hurt. Mark Scheifele missed a game. What did you think? So there's been a lot of talk, Parker. Blake Wheeler, that's why he's not the captain anymore. There's been a lot of talk that his leadership isn't great. The way him and I'm not sure you saw it. The way Wheeler and Hellebuyck were basically aloof at their media availability. Did you have a problem with what Bowness said? And if you've been in locker rooms and you know coaching, what do you think?
I don't know. This Jets team just feels kind of rotten to me. Right.
Yeah,
and they have for a while. They just feel stale. They have had, you think about how long that sort of core has been there, right? Wheeler, Scheifele, and Hellebuyck at this point, even though he's been like one of the best goalies in hockey. But that core, and then you think of the guys who, came through like Patrick Laine, and then that didn't work. And it just doesn't, they're so uninspiring as a team. Like they don't have much energy. They're sort of that physical, like kind of aging team, really. And looking through it, like they have one of the oldest teams in hockey, right? Yep. And Blake Wheeler is not getting any younger. Yep. None of these guys are. It really feels like this team just needs a full reset. They need to blow this thing up, which is tough, right? It's tough to your guys who have been there for so long. In like a Wheeler or a Scheifele, right? Like getting rid of guys like that's going to be next to impossible, but you've got guys like PLD there, right? Pierre-Luc Dubois looked really good for a good chunk of that series. I think, you need to sort of start over in Winnipeg because I think this was the best they were going to be.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree with that, and I heard that aside from the win, I think they got the Western Conference Final just before the bubble, if I'm not mistaken. And then in the past 5 years since then, not a lot at all. And you're kind of right. They're not identical, but a similar idea. And they got some high end players. It's not a perfect comparison, but they have a Morrissey, we have a Hughes, they have a Hellebuyck, we have a Demko, both American. They have their Ehlers, their Scheifele, and Wheeler, and we have our big three or whatever up front. But then after that, they have PLD. But then they simply, I agree with you. There's something rotten. There's something that's not happening chemistry wise. And they've gotten through three coaches. They went Maurice, Lowry really quickly, and then Bowness. So who knows? I agree with you. That something needs to change there for sure.
Yeah. All right. So that's one.
Yep.
Let's talk about. Sorry, I lost my.
Well, we can stay in Pacific, I guess.
Stay in might as well. Let's go Edmonton, LA.
Yeah.
This was also a pretty fun series. That kind of felt like LA. Like they were more in it than I kind of thought they were. We both thought Edmonton in 6, but it was Edmonton in 6 in a bit of a more like it felt tight a lot lot of the way.
Yep. A couple overtime games, right? At least 2, if not more.
3 overtime games, with LA winning 2 of those. Wow. And then a 2-goal game, a 3-goal game, and then that game 6 was a 5-4 finish.
Yep.
Where you had
I just think
break his stick.
Yeah. For people who didn't see it, or didn't know he broke his stick, they thought he just made a bad play, but he made a bad play because his stick broke, obviously. I don't know. They seem to solve Korpisalo a little bit, obviously, in game 6. And I just think that Ekholm addition, Parker on the blue line, then now Darnell Nurse isn't the number 1. He gets trashed as much as Tyler Myers does. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, people like Edmonton fans can't stand. I don't know if there's any Oilers fans in here. Oilers fans can't stand Darnell Nurse. He's their whipping boy. He's truly their Tyler Myers. Yeah, but
and I kind of see why. I like Darnell. Like I don't know. I've never been big on him, but Evan Bouchard has turned into to me he's their number 1. Even with Ekholm, he has been so good for Edmonton. I mean, you have Edmonton Ekholm as your 1-2, or sorry, Bouchard Ekholm as your 1-2.
Yep.
And then a guy like Darnell Nurse being your 3 or your 4, that's a pretty good defensive group for a team that is that offensively focused. Now, all 3 of those guys are offensively focused defensemen, for the most part. But yeah, I mean, you have them. Draisaitl has 7 goals in those 6 games.
That's crazy.
Like this is it's the power play, right? You can't take penalties against this team, and I mean, I mentioned it in our show before the playoffs started that I saw a stat that early on in series penalties go way up. There's a lot more penalties in the first 3 games or so of the series, and the last few games of the series they die down a lot. And I sort of said, like, if LA's in it after 2 or 3 games, then they might have a shot. Turns out didn't happen. They were up 2-1 in the series after 3 games, but Edmonton just got, even when they did get a couple fewer power plays, they just kept scoring. I mean, you look at the scores in these games, right? In 5 of the 6, it was 4 goals to win it.
Wow.
And in 3 of the 6, it was 5.
And LA, they got obviously some good players. They got some young blood there. So I think they're gonna be around for a while. I really do. Yeah.
Yeah. LA's kind of in that in between, right? They got guys like Kopitar and Doughty who are over the hump, right? Obviously they can still play, especially Kopitar. Yep. Kopitar's great. But then, they do have the young guys, right? They got Byfield, and Korpisalo's been pretty good for them too. They definitely have, they turn things around pretty quickly. Yeah.
Fiala's good. They got, Byfield, Velarde, and then they got those, the middle guys of like the Fialas, the Kempis, and then they got the old guys of the Kopitars and Arvidssons and Doughty. That's exactly right. Okay. Well, we don't have to worry about them for another season. So we'll save our Vegas Edmonton prediction to once we get through all 8 series. We'll wrap up the 8 series and then we'll look ahead to the next 4.
Sounds good. Dallas, Minnesota. Let's knock this one out because it was.
I didn't care about this one.
This series and the Carolina Islanders series are just. It's 4 teams I just don't care about at all. I have Minnesota. Sure, 2002, whatever. That was 20 years ago when Manny Fernandez was insane. Right. But I don't care about Minnesota anymore. And I don't care about Dallas either. They're just 2 pretty boring teams that don't interest me. Dallas is just sort of old, Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin. They do have, Jason Robertson's fantastic. Ottinger's fantastic. They're sort of
Miro Heiskanen,
right. They're sort of similar to LA, but with higher upside of the young guys, right? There's better young players. And Minnesota just, they're just boring. They don't inspire confidence. They don't inspire much. They played okay, but it's this one wasn't too much of a surprise that Dallas pulled through.
Yeah, Justin's saying that Hintz killed it for him, not killed him, killed it for him in his playoff pool. Hintz has, I think he had 8 or something. He did great. And Parker, I have a soft spot for Dallas. I'm not sure if you remember back in February, I traveled down there to do a quick speaking gig, and a soft spot maybe too strong, but curious. And I think I won't give away, but they're playing against Seattle. So 7 goals though in the second, and Kirill Kaprizov, whatever you want to call him. Apparently, he didn't do a lot in this series, and a lot of Minnesota Wild fans were complaining.
Yeah, going back to Rupe Hintz, he is so underrated.
Yeah,
he's making $8.5 million a year now. Good for him. Yeah. But the last 3 years, he's been a point-per-game player. He had 12 points in this series, 5 goals, 7 assists.
That's crazy.
That is huge and very clutch. Yeah. I don't care about either of these teams, but I think I'd rather watch Dallas and Jason Robertson for the most part.
I agree.
In the next round.
And Ruby Hintz had 12 points. The highest scorer for Minnesota had 5. Hartman, Zuccarello, and Nyquist. Guess how many points Fiala had? If even you already know, that's fine. Guess.
I don't know, 2?
1. One goal in 6 games.
Man, remember how good Fiala was against the Canucks in that series? That's crazy.
Yep. So there we go. The other one was Seattle, Colorado.
Yeah, and that was a fun series. I did really enjoy watching that game last night.
Yeah.
A pretty wild one, because what did that start out? That's Seattle won game 1. Mm-hmm. Colorado won games 2 and 3. Then Seattle brought it back to even in OT in game 4. Every single game was close, really, in this series, right? There was one 4-1 win from Colorado and a 6-4 win from Colorado, but that's still pretty close.
Yep.
It was actually a really good series, and I don't know, it's just Colorado just kind of looked tired.
Yeah.
Like they were clearly, not like they had a bunch of injuries for one.
Yep.
But Seattle was just grinding. Like they just straight up, that was their style coming in. They came in as the underdogs.
They're relentless. Yeah.
They were going to be scrappy and they were going to just go out and be flying. And Philip Grubauer was fantastic. And really, like you look at it, and it's a 7-game series. The Kraken's point leader had 6 points in that series, so they really went deep. Right, it was all depth. Yeah. The most goals any Kraken player had. Now, keep in mind, there was a 6-4 game. Most of the games were 3-2-ish. Their most goals, 3 players on Seattle had 2 goals.
What?
No one had more. So it was just all by committee. It was just buy-in and depth and very impressive to take down the defending champs.
And they have all these guys who you think, you wouldn't think they'd be bona fide first liners, but they'd be all like a bunch of good middle six, second and third liners. Gord, Schwartz, Wenberg, Borkstrand, Tolvanen, Eberle. Oh, Eberle's pretty good. But yeah, all these guys, they just get the job done. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no big threats, really, right? Like McCann's a bit of a threat, but I mean, not too big of one. And yeah, that was sort of the thing that you, especially in yesterday's game, that you noticed in Game 7, was when Seattle's on the ice, they basically have 3 second lines, right? So they are always, they can create pressure and chances basically at any time, less dangerous than if you have a guy like Nathan MacKinnon. What you're noticing for Colorado is when Nathan MacKinnon wasn't on the ice, it was like they were waiting for Nathan MacKinnon to get back on the ice. Like they are so dependent on him and Rantanen basically, and obviously Makar and Taves on the back end. But they sort of can put those guys out together, and then they can play for 45 seconds, and they have to sit for a minute, and then they'd get back out there, and then they can try to create again. So especially when they were losing in the third, it was just like waiting for these guys to come back on the ice, while Seattle could continue to play with some depth.
And Justin makes a really good point here. He says they collectively frustrated MacKinnon like no team I've ever seen. Yep, that's fair. That's a really good observation, Justin. I know you made that on my show too. One thing, Parker, question for you before we move on from this one. So whatever biases you don't have, you have or don't have, I asked this on my Twitter. I would love you to answer. Seattle Kraken in the second round. Are you cheering for them? Are you cheering against them? Or are you truly indifferent?
Yeah, this is an interesting one, because if you had asked me this 3 years ago, and you said first time Seattle's in the playoffs, they take down the defending Cup champs, I'd be like, yeah, no, I don't want them to do anything. But I haven't built up any resentment to them yet. It's I don't I haven't had time. I've been to one game that has been against them, and that was a Seattle win, but that was in Seattle, beautiful arena. And I was they're still really inoffensive to me. They haven't wronged me. Now I'm sure in the next few years they will, and I will look back at this and be like, I can't believe I was okay with Seattle doing well. But again, don't care about Dallas at all. I don't need to see Dallas move on, but I also don't need to see Seattle move on. I don't really care who gets through. So I'm pretty indifferent on this one. I'm sort of just rooting for 7 games.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I saw many people just says there's for every person that says, just like Vegas, oh man, I can't believe an expansion team may have more success than we've had in the past few years. You have other people that's saying what you just said is there's not really a Canucks Kraken rivalry. So why they've done nothing to offend me. Exactly what you said. So interesting.
Yeah, they're trying to push one, right? Obviously, because it's good for business. But until there's a playoff series between them, I just don't see it yet.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so good job wrapping up the Western Conference. Let's go to the East. Let's start with Boston, Florida.
Oh, you're starting off with the Heat, eh? I was gonna go with the sad
the dull
first. But sure, let's start with Boston, Florida. What a fantastic series. Like genuinely, as a neutral observer, now I was rooting for Florida because I don't like Boston very much, but also, coming in, winning every game in the regular season, essentially, putting up 43 more points than your opponent during the regular season, losing 7 games at home the entire season and then losing 3 in the first round of the playoffs. It's astonishing. But man, Florida just knew how to play, and Brandon Montour is a monster.
Yeah, he's
Matthew
good.
Tkachuk is a monster. And really, that 7th game, that tying goal with a minute to go, that Montour goal, you knew there. Like that was it. Boston had put everything into holding that lead. Montour scores his 2nd of the game. I think he had 5 goals in the first round in a 7-game series as a defenseman. Just absurd. And it's just great hockey. I mean, you look at the scores in all these games, right? 3-1, 6-3, 4-2, 6-2, 4-3, 7-5, and 4-3. Just a bunch of goal scoring. There's so many storylines in this one, right? The goaltending on both sides, right? Where you have Alex Lyon getting some chances. You have Bobrovsky, who now holds basically the goaltending record for beating the best teams of all time, with beating Tampa, the 62-win Tampa Bay Lightning in 2019 with the Blue Jackets, and now the 65-win Boston Bruins. Just a crazy series that really couldn't have gone any better.
Wow. By the way, we've gone international tonight. Ricky, our buddy, is watching from Mexico City. He's on vacation. Thanks for coming in, Ricky. Appreciate you. Yeah, you nailed it pretty well. And then we haven't even talked about, and I guess we can spend a couple minutes, is that it for Patrice Bergeron? He waited at the bench. It was kind of weird because it was on home ice. So Florida wins. They're all happy. They do the handshake. Florida guys go off. You wait for them. Then the Bruins players do their half-hearted salute because they're just decimated. They're so upset. And then Bergeron, as classy as we expect, waits by the bench and hugs every single player before they get off the ice. Was that a sign, a sure telltale sign that he's not coming back? Or was that simply, I'm leaving the door open, but just in case, this was a nice way to go out at least?
Yeah, it seemed like the former. I mean, he's going to be 38 at the start of next year. However, we're talking about a guy who's probably going to win the Selke this year, right?
Yep.
Like again, like he's won what 5 Selkes in his career, and he might just have locked up a 6th. And I mean, they're not going to give it to anybody else. I mean, they won a stupid amount of games. He's still, he's slightly below his peak. Like, he's still such a phenomenal hockey player. And if he's just tired and done and just wants to go out on top, like not on top, obviously they lost, but if he just wants to go out like while still being a good player and not have that like slow decline into mediocrity, then all the power to him. But man, like Boston was a team that we thought coming into this year was sort of like, they'd have to push to make the playoffs, right?
Right.
They didn't seem like a team that was going to win every single game this year, but I don't know if they can keep that up going forward, right? You think of all the pieces that fell into place, right? Patrice Bergeron has a fantastic year. You have David Pastrnak scoring 60 goals. You have Linus Ullmark with like a 930 or whatever it was. And then a great backup in Jeremy Swayman, who also played really well.
Yes.
They had all these pieces come together perfectly for one last hurrah, really, this core. And they blew it. Like they just fell flat. They should have saved some wins, I guess, for the playoffs. But yeah, it's a monumental collapse. And if you're Bergeron, you're probably thinking like, are we going to get back to this point, right?
Yeah.
Like, are we going to have a team next year that can try to do this again? Because man, it's gonna be tough to pull something like that together.
Man, Tyler Bertuzzi was good. 10 points, leading the tied with Marchand.
He's very good.
I was very impressed with him. Actually, I never watched him play when he was in Detroit. So yeah, I was very impressed. Yeah. And then Tkachuk, man, that game-winning goal, Tkachuk basically fought off Brandon Carlo and a couple other guys. I think it was him and Reinhart mucking behind the goal and centering it out. Very impressed by Tkachuk, obviously. And by the way, Dallas, Minnesota, because you did the Pacific. Dallas, Minnesota. What was our prediction? Dallas, Minnesota.
I said Dallas in 7. You said Dallas in 6, so you were correct.
And then for Seattle and Colorado. I don't want to know.
We both picked Colorado.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
All right. And then for this one, Boston,
we
Florida.
both beat Boston, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, great series. Went the way that I'm pretty happy with. We got Game 7 OT, which is all I wanted, and it
great.
finished off with Boston losing, which I'm okay with. And I guess while we're up there in that part of the bracket, we might as well cover the big one, Toronto
You're
Tampa.
right. I went backwards. Sorry, man.
It's all good. Toronto Tampa. This was a really, really good series as well, and sort of went the way we expected. Now, I mean, I did predict. I literally said this verbatim. I said my ideal scenario is I think Toronto wins in 7, and I said Toronto will go up 3-1 in the series, and then they will choke it, and it will go to Game 7. Now, they almost did. I was very close because they were up 3-1 in the series. But this is one that really could have gone either way, right? First 2 games, 7-3, 7-2. One for each team. Toronto wins games 3 and 4 in OT, and obviously game 6 in OT, and then Tampa won game 5. So those 3 OT wins for Toronto out of those 4. Again, those can go either way, right? You look at that Tavares goal that won it in game 7, right? Like just a lucky bounce off the skate.
Of the defenseman. Yeah.
Like you can't predict that, but Toronto's big guns came out big, right? The guys they needed to be big. Matthews with 5 goals. Mitch Marner had 11 points in those 6 games. You have Luke Schenn being a stud on defense. Absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I mean, what was your reaction? Were you rooting against Toronto? Where were you on this?
This is really bad, Parker. A very vulnerable, no, not vulnerable, honest take here. So I don't say I derive pleasure, but it almost became its own meme, right? Its own self-fulfilling prophecy that they lose every elimination game, they had a chance to win, and they kept losing them since 2004, obviously, so almost 2 decades. Friday night, I'm not going to lie, I went back and I watched every Game 7 collapse of the Toronto Maple Leafs on YouTube. I just went down that rabbit hole. So I saw the big one in Boston, 2013 that everyone talks about, where they were up 4-1 with 10 minutes left and they lost. So I watched.
I remember I was 16. I remember where I was. I remember I was in my buddy's basement suite. I was there. I watched it. That's classic.
So I admit it. I'm a jerk. So I spent Friday night. I should have been studying, but I watched 2 series against Boston. I watched 2 series against Tampa, just the Game 7s, and then even against Montreal in the All Canadian division. That joke. So then they win. And I was pretty not surprised really. I wanted to go to Game 7 just for the drama and for the suspense. But then I thought, Parker, and I would love your take on this, just like I asked about the Seattle Kraken, for the Maple Leafs. On one hand, there are some fans that are pretty insufferable, but I didn't jump on the bandwagon of, oh my gosh, they're so over the top. I can't believe they're celebrating like they won the Stanley Cup. Because if it was reversed and if the Canucks hadn't won a first round playoff series since 2004, I'm pretty sure I'd be reacting over the top as well. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, we'd be going down to Scott Road. It would be a party. It would be crazy. No, of course. Look, part of me wanted Toronto to lose because it's funny. Just of how ridiculous it is, right? How can you find a way to lose every single time? It doesn't make sense. However, I'm kind of tired of this Tampa Bay team, to be honest. I don't like Kucherov. Kucherov's very good, but I don't like him. He's a bit of a rat.
I heard he's a bit of a jerk. I have a personal story. I'll tell you off air. Yeah. Okay.
I don't, I'm kind of done with him. This Toronto team's pretty likable. I like watching Matthews and Marner play together. I like Luke Schenn. And then, once I saw Toronto win, again, that kind of confused me on the Boston-Florida series. Because I was like, Toronto-Boston would be a fantastic matchup. However, obviously Boston lost and Toronto's going to get Florida, which is probably good for them. But it's obviously not going to be easy. But we'll see.
Yep. And now this one, who picked who for this one in the first round?
We both picked Toronto in 7.
Oh, we did.
And it was Toronto in 6.
Oh, I thought I lost this one for sure. I thought I picked Tampa. Okay, good. Nope. At least I got one. Okay.
All right, let's go to the other side.
The very nondescript, the very nondescript division.
Carolina, New York. Bo Horvat did nothing, and except he had that one shorthanded goal to make a game 5-1 instead of 5-0. The Islanders lost. Hurricanes win in 6.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know I got this one wrong because I thought that Shesterkin was gonna, not Shesterkin, Sorokin. I get those two guys mixed up. Sorokin. I thought he was gonna goalie the Carolina team, but no.
Put up a 929.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
He
But
did fine. It's just, team in front of him did nothing.
And just while you mentioned the Horvat, I know what I vlogged about today is because Florida advanced, they were the worst of all the playoff teams, and because the Islanders were the second worst and they didn't advance, the Islanders actually bump up to the highest pick of a playoff team. So the Islanders will pick their pick is 17. That's the one we got for Horvat, the one we traded to Detroit for Philip Hronek. So Detroit, we now know, it's not protected. They get the 17th pick in the first round. And by the way, did you know, Parker, that Detroit has 5 picks in the first 2 rounds? I looked that up today. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, 5 picks in a deep draft. We have 1.
Yeah, I was watching, sort of off topic, I was watching the NFL draft this past weekend, and Seattle picking 5th and 20th. I was like, oh, it's so nice to pick high in the draft. And like,
by the way, as a quick aside, are you happy with the 2 guys they picked? Sean, my son Sean was telling me a little bit about them.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I'm very happy actually.
Okay, good.
They did pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this series, I didn't watch basically any of this series. Like, it was one that, because there was always like another game on, right? And like, one of the other Eastern games on, like a Toronto Tampa or Boston Florida, whichever one was lined up. I think Toronto Tampa was usually at the same time as that series. So like I had no interest in watching Carolina and New York. I like Carolina more than the Islanders, but didn't care that much.
So I know I got this one wrong. I picked the Islanders, didn't I?
You did pick the Islanders in 7. I picked Carolina in 7. So I'll get the 3 points there. And then this last one, Devils Rangers, which wrapped up tonight. I did say I was taking Jack Hughes in 7.
That's a big 4-point swing.
Yeah, because you took the Rangers in 6.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I thought that all the additions the Rangers made, Tarasenko, Kane, I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of them. They obviously went all in, and I thought that they would run over. Quite frank, I know New Jersey was fast and they're a lot younger, but I didn't think Hughes and Heischer and those guys would be ready, and I didn't know who Akira Schmid was.
Yeah. No, for real. I mean, you know, the Rangers seem more like a playoffy team, and I think that's just because they're the Rangers. I don't know how like realistic that is. Yeah. But like they, you know, the Devils are the sort of up and coming, fast, young team. You know, sort of right off a little bit of a rebuild.
Yep.
And the Rangers are, you know, like Chris Kreider and you know, Zibanejad, like the sort of older guys, and the Devils. This is a very streaky series, right? Rangers win games 1 and 2. Devils win 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. Obviously, game 3 in OT too, right? That's a big swing. And then the Rangers win game 6, and then the Devils just came out and crushed them today. 4-0. The Rangers weren't in it.
Yep. So what do we have for this one? I had Rangers.
You had the Rangers. I had the Devils in 7.
Oh my god! Another 4-point swing. What the?
So
heck?
that totals me up for 8, 11, and 6 is 17, and 4 is 21 out of a possible 28.
You got 21 points?
Yeah, 4, 8, 11 from the West, and 10 from the East.
Holy smokes!
And you got 8, 11, and 3 is 14 out of a possible
down 7.
28. You're down 7. So
that's easy. I can make that up.
We're about halfway through the play, like all of the series.
Right.
I think there's 15 total series, and we've had 8 of them.
Okay.
So you have your work cut out for you.
All right, I'm ready.
So let's discuss round 2, and let's go back to the West, and let's start with probably the least interesting one, and that is actually it probably might be interesting because they're 2 teams that are probably fairly decent against each other: Seattle and Dallas.
Okay, so friends, while we do each of these 4 series, we're going to basically spend 1 minute per series and wrap up in the next 5 minutes. But we want to hear we won't be able to highlight them, but put in the chat your predictions as we go. So we're talking about Dallas, Seattle. Technically, it's the Central Division final because Seattle's in there as a wild card. I'm not cheering against or for Seattle. I truly am indifferent. I think that Dallas has more high-end players, and they got a stud in net. I have the Stars. I'm just looking at my piece of paper. I have the Stars in 6.
Okay. I'll write that down. I think that's a pretty good shout. No, I haven't made my picks yet, so I could just copy you and make my life easy.
No, I'm going to make you go first to the next 3. Yeah, I know you won't do that.
That's
too.
fine. That is fair because you have them written down. I haven't thought about this yet. Yeah, I would. Looking at these teams, I would go Dallas as well. However, thinking about it now, like Seattle battled against Colorado. Dallas does get home ice. I will also take Dallas, but I'm gonna go 7. I'll take the extra game.
Okay. Give me a chance to get a point.
Again, that's sort of just hoping, right? Like I want this to go 7, because that would be just ideal. I think guys like Jason Robertson are going to be too big of a deal. Even guys like Ben and Sagan, they can still step up when they need to.
Pretty even in the chat. Maybe a small advantage to Dallas, but pretty even. So that's good.
Yeah, people are getting a bit aggressive. Like Dallas in 7, Dallas in 6, but there's like Dallas in 5, Kraken in 4. It's not going to be a sweep. If it's a sweep, come back to this and clip it. But I highly doubt that.
All right, let's move on to the Pacific. Not. Yes, Pacific. 2 teams that they're basically 2 points apart regular season. This is the matchup we wanted out of the Pacific. Wow. What do you got?
Edmonton, Vegas. I'm taking Edmonton in 6. Like the Oilers, in my mind, are just like, look, Vegas won the division. The Oilers got hot. They took down LA, who gave them a bit of a challenge. Vegas had a bit of a cakewalk in that first round. This one really could go either way. Like I'd be like 55-45 on this one.
Well, but I'm going to agree with 6. Okay, now I'll agree with my man Cody Chong. I'm going Edmonton in 7. So I can only make up a point here and a point there so far.
But yeah, that is true. All right.
Oh, I know what's going to happen. We're going to get to the Stanley Cup final, and it's reversed this year. Remember, you kind of made a bold pick just to try to win.
I had to pick what you wouldn't and hope.
Yeah, that was good psychology. That was good.
Well, I did it in the conference final, and then I shouldn't have because I could have done the Stanley Cup final.
Right.
I got quick too. I went for it too quickly.
I may have to do the same. Yes.
Let's go to the East. Let's start with the more boring one because Carolina, New Jersey. Like who cares?
So if I showed you my paper, you'll see scribbles around both. So I'll talk about the 2 teams, but I'll let you give your prediction first.
Sure.
This is. I agree. It's going to be the more boring one. Can New Jersey ride the momentum of knocking off a tough Rangers team versus Carolina has been sitting there, on their butts for the past 4 or 5 days. Yeah, but most importantly, I think this is going to be the least interesting of the 4 series, unless you're a fan of those 2 teams. Carolina's a bit more experienced, and they're 1 point apart in the regular season, so there's nothing really to choose between the 2. So having said all that, which way are you leaning?
I have this weird thing for both of these teams where I just feel like neither of them have the ability to get it done. So like I don't know, like looking at these teams, like if you put Toronto against either of these teams, I think I'd take Toronto. If you put Edmonton against either teams, I'd take Edmonton. There's a few teams I'd take over either of these teams, which is weird because Carolina was really good this year. But I don't know. I look back on whatever the year, like 2 years ago, they played the Rangers and then they lost in the second round. That's sort of just how I picture the Hurricanes now. Because of that, I'm going to go with New Jersey, and I'm going to say it goes to 7.
Dang it. Same. Dang it.
Really? Wow. Yeah. I thought you'd go Carolina. I was trying to throw you a bone there.
No, and I don't know if you can see it. I don't know how that comes off if you can see my...
You really did change your mind.
Dang it.
All right. Okay. All right. That makes it a little less interesting. Well, I've already written mine down for Florida, Toronto, so I will not change it.
And I believe you. All right.
Toronto will get the home ice. They are riding high off of their first time winning a playoff series in 19 years. But Florida is also playing with house money. They are coming in. They beat the best regular season team of all time. The second biggest upset by point differential in Stanley Cup playoff history. So where were you leaning on this one? Florida, Toronto, 2 teams that no one really thought would make it.
Not at all. It's actually the first one that I see in the chat. I have, like Alfred, I have Leafs in 6.
I also have the Leafs in 6.
So this sucks.
First round's very important to this. I'll change it to 7.
No, keep it. You wait to see who I pick for the conference finals. Now I'm going to pick two teams that aren't even playing, and that's how bold I got to be.
Yeah, it's look, Florida. What Florida did was very impressive. I just think Toronto is going to have the vibes. Now, Toronto, like Toronto just took this monkey off their back. Like, you think if they were going to have nerves, it was going to be that game 6, right? Like, that was going to be where they'd have the shaky hands and they'd throw it away. Yeah. But for them to just go out and get it done, like, they should just be freewheeling. Like, that's how they should be playing. They should just be like, all right, we're just going to fly. We're just going to go out, play our game. We are the better team offensively. We have decent goaltending. Like, we'll be fine. Let's just go play our game. If you're Florida, you're thinking, let's keep things locked down. Let's play through Montour and Tkachuk. We have goaltending that's going to work fine for us as well. But this is one that really could go either way. I think Toronto is just a better team. However, it's a team that if Bobrovsky plays his best, it could be a bit of trouble for them.
Yeah, I think the point you made, Parker, right at the start of that is, or near the start, the fact that Toronto has already gotten through the hump of winning. I'm with you. I don't think that they're going to be gripping the stick so hard. I don't think that they're going to be as nervous. So yeah, whether they go up 3-1 or 3-2, I don't think it'll be 3-0. I don't think there's going to be as much despair or distraughtness, whatever the word is, about trying to close the series. And I think we both agree that's why we both said 6 as opposed to 7.
Yeah, if it goes to 7, I think we're going to get some of that, some of those nerves. Yeah. Toronto, they're like, are they going to show? If they go up 3-1 in the series and it ends up going to 7, they're like, oh no, it was 3-1, and they're going to, choking it again. Was it a fluke that they beat Tampa, and then we have this whole thing? I mean, this is a team, like, Toronto has built a team that now, like, they now have the easiest path that you could hope for, right? Tampa's gone. Boston's gone. Yeah. On the west side, Colorado's gone. So Toronto has to get through a Florida and then a Carolina or New Jersey,
which is going to happen anyways.
They should be better then. And then they're going to be in the finals against one of either Seattle or Dallas or one of Vegas or Edmonton, right? Like, there's a very real chance that it goes to a Western Conference final of, Seattle and Edmonton, and 1 7-game series. Maybe Seattle gets lucky and pulls it out, right? Mm-hmm. Like, the Leafs have to be looking at this as, and again, you don't want them to. You want them to be free flowing, but you're looking at the teams ahead of you, and you're thinking, well, why can't we get there, right? Yeah. And when are we going to have a chance like this, right? Our additions of Luke Schenn and Ryan O'Reilly have been so big and so clutch for us, right? Are we going to get this chance again? We finally got through the first round. Let's make the most of it. So that'll be an interesting push for them.
And finally, which leads to what Jaskarin and Taylor and others are saying, an all Canadian final is not unrealistic at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's not likely. So 25% of 25% if you're going even odds for everybody. So
sure.
So 7% or whatever that would be. But yeah, I mean, you look at it and who's your favorite out of the West is probably the winner of the Vegas Edmonton series.
Agreed.
And your favorite out of the East is either probably Toronto or the winner of the Carolina New Jersey series. Although if Florida pulls that out against Toronto, then maybe they're starting to look a little bit better.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely could see that.
And I'm just thinking about the networks. I know there is a lot of interest in Matthews and McDavid, but you think of the big American networks. You have their two biggest markets, Boston and LA, I guess. But Boston, the Rangers knocked out pretty crazy.
Yeah, not ideal. You got to think for them, they're probably hoping for like a Seattle or Vegas, right?
Yep,
that would
exactly.
Be, maybe draw some eyes. These expansion teams, these young teams. I just Vegas to get through. Like, I'm looking at this list, like of the 8 teams left. Like Vegas is the only team I don't want to win. I think. Like, I don't like Edmonton. I don't like Toronto, but I wouldn't be too upset.
Give me, of those 8 teams, give me the one matchup that will be, oh God, I hope I don't have to watch this in the final.
Yeah, I mean, I that's what I wouldn't want. I wouldn't want it to be Vegas and I don't know. I don't really care on the East.
Yeah, I'm going Dallas, Carolina. To me, I don't hate them, but that would be the least appealing series for me. Would be Dallas, Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah. At least if Vegas made it, I could root against them. I would have that rooting interest. But if it was Dallas, Carolina, like I'd cheer for Carolina, but I wouldn't
even
care.
watch. Yeah. Yeah.
No. If I had a tea time, I would be like, all right, well, I'll see what happens after. Because it'll be June.
But you make a really good point because with the other three West teams, I would care for different reasons if it was Seattle, Edmonton, or Vegas, and I would care for different reasons if it was Toronto, Florida, or even New Jersey, even though they're the closest. But I would not care if it was Dallas or Carolina.
Yeah, I don't really care about New Jersey either.
Yeah, I care about them a tiny bit more than I do for Carolina.
But like Toronto's interesting and kind of fun, even though we shouldn't like them, but I kind of like them. And Florida, I mean, Roberto Luongo gets a ring if Florida wins. Right. So
and the memes of him finally beating Boston. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's it. That's our predictions.
So I have some work to do.
You
and
do.
I can only do 2 points of that work this round, so I'm gonna have to go bold.
You cannot make up much, unfortunately, for you. What you said Toronto in 6, right? Let me just write that down. Yeah. So we are the same on the West and basically the same on the West, the same on the East.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Any other stuff we want to touch on here?
Well, I guess next week we got to figure out what's happening because there's the draft lottery. Earlier,
draft lottery's at 4 on Monday, and then I have my late softball again. However, if the Canucks win the draft lottery, we will be doing a show.
Yeah,
we will make it happen.
Yes.
Yeah, we can try to do something similar, or we can figure something out. We'll
play. Stay tuned. We'll let you guys know somehow.
We'll probably do the same thing.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, folks. Thank you all very much for joining us. If you missed any part of the show tonight, you can find it on your favorite podcast platform in a matter of minutes, or you can rewind back to the beginning here on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed. You can follow me on Twitter, ParkersPucks, Clay at Canuck Clay. Clay, any parting words this fine first evening of May?
Yeah, well, I can't believe it's May. We blew past our 2nd anniversary, so happy 2nd birthday to us. And it was good to get back on the show, get back together, and yeah, it's funny. That was an amazing. I'm not sure if the second round is going to match the first round, but that was some great, entertaining, unpredictable hockey. So I am looking forward to the second round for sure.
Yeah, storylines were great. Hopefully, we get more of the same. All right, folks, have a good rest of your week, and let's hope next Monday we are here talking about Connor Bedard. Probably not, but that would be nice. All right, have a good one, everyone.